The 2015 NHL Draft class was loaded with talent. This draft is responsible for some of the great players that we see in today's NHL. But even with a stacked draft class like this, there are still some teams that made a mistake with their selections. I'm looking at you, Boston, with those 3 first overall picks. That was just brutal. So today I will be redrafting the 2015 NHL Draft picks from 1 through 10 to see which teams got the selection right the first time around and which teams should have done things differently. So if you love all things NHL and hockey and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do that now, and let's get right into it. With the first overall pick in the draft, the Edmonton Oilers select Connor McDavid, and this one was too easy. McDavid earned the top selection and the rest is just history. In 612 games played, McDavid has 917 points, 5 Art Ross trophies, 3 Hart trophies, 4 Ted Lindsays, and 1 Rocket Richard. McDavid's career is already at a Hall of Fame level, and he's only 27 years old. Looking back at this, it was an easy selection for the Oilers. Every team wanted this guy, so I'm going to keep Connor at the number 1 spot. I don't think anybody would debate that. With the second overall pick, the Buffalo Sabres selected Jack Eichel to be their next franchise player. During that time, there were some talks about Jack Eichel being considered over Connor McDavid for the first overall pick. That's just how good Jack was leading up to the draft. Now in hindsight, obviously McDavid was the right choice. Eichel has since played in 518 games and has 490 points. He played in Buffalo for 6 seasons until things began to sour with the organization about his neck injury and how they should be taking care of the surgery. Jack was then traded to the Vegas Golden Knights, where now he's won the organization their first Stanley Cup in the 2022-23 season. And despite some of the other talent that's in this draft, I still think I'm taking Jack at number 2. I think he's a great two-way center, averages around a point per game, and seems to be a clutch guy when it comes to the playoffs. Now that he's in Vegas, I think he's really found his groove. Maybe I'm biased because I've always been a Jack Eichel guy, but I think the Sabres did make the right decision, and even though it didn't work out between the player and the organization, Jack Eichel is still an incredible talent in the NHL and deserved that number 2 selection. Next up, the 3rd overall pick, and maybe one of the worst picks in the top 10 of this draft. The Arizona Coyotes take Dylan Strow with their 3rd overall pick. Now, Strow is a fine player, don't get me wrong, but the best he has ever done with the Coyotes was score 6 points. He was traded to Chicago, where his best season he had was 58 points, and now currently plays for Washington, where he's been a decent player for them. And hey, fun fact, he has more goals than Ovechkin does this season, if you can believe that. Rather than selecting Strow, I think the Coyotes should have taken Mikko Rantanen with their 3rd overall pick. I don't think Rantanen gets enough credit for his style of play and how much he's accomplished over the past few seasons. Rantanen has 579 points in 539 games played. He's a Stanley Cup champion and is on pace to have another 100-point season. Without him, I don't think the Colorado Avalanche would have won that Stanley Cup. Put him on this current Coyotes team, and having him and Keller on the same roster would make the Coyotes 10 times better than taking Strow in the draft. With the number 4 overall pick, the Toronto Maple Leafs select Mitch Marner. Marner has been a huge part of the current Toronto core, and in most other drafts, I think he could have even gone 1st overall. I think this was the right selection for Toronto despite their lack of postseason success. Marner is a strong forward for this hockey club, having 607 points in 554 games played. Marner has really fell into his game over the past couple of seasons, having 90 plus points in the past 2 years, and is currently on pace for his first 100-point season of his career. Marner is great offensively, but his defense doesn't get talked about enough. Through his career, he's been great across the sheet, and last season he was nominated for a Selke trophy as well. I did like this decision for Toronto back in 2015, and I still think it's the right decision at 4th overall. At number 5, the Carolina Hurricanes selected Noah Hanahan before he ended up with Calgary. This was one of 2 great picks from the Hurricanes, but this pick was way too high for Hanahan. Rather than taking Noah Hanahan, the Canes instead take 5th round gem Kirill Kaprizov. Kaprizov was taken in the 5th round of this draft and has now become the face of the Minnesota Wild organization. In 245 games played, he has 279 points and already has 2 40-goal seasons. Kirill the Thrill would be a great addition to the Carolina Hurricanes and would really help change their offensive system. I mean, it can't really get much worse than drafting Hanahan and then not having him on the team anymore, right? With the number 6th overall pick, New Jersey selects Pavel Zaka with their top 10 pick. Zaka is a fine player. He's nothing crazy. He's just a solid NHL player. But he never really fit in with New Jersey and eventually was traded to Boston, where he's at least found a bit more to his game. Rather than taking Zaka with their pick, New Jersey instead selects Sebastian Aho with their 1st round selection, giving them another amazing offensive piece to their young core. Aho's the type of player that fits in with any roster, and having him on the same team as Hughes, Toffoli, Meyer, Hischier, and Brott would just be electric. With the 7th overall pick in the draft, the Flyers selected Ivan Provorov, and he was a solid defenseman with the Flyers while he played with the organization. This offseason though, the Flyers were looking to head into a rebuild, so they sent Provorov to the Blue Jackets. Rather than taking Provorov with their pick, I think the Flyers instead select Kyle Connor. Connor has played in 497 games, has 453 points with the Winnipeg Jets, and is often overlooked, but really don't be fooled. This guy is a goal-scoring beast and would be a great part of the Philadelphia franchise had they selected him with the 7th pick. With the 8th overall pick, the Columbus Blue Jackets select Zach Werenski, and I think this is still a very good pick for the hockey club. The Blue Jackets needed a top-line defenseman, and that's exactly what they got. Werenski can do it all: score goals, give nice assists, and play great defense against some of the NHL's best. I think Columbus did a nice job with this selection. Even with all of the other remaining talent, I still think that this was worth the pick. With the 9th overall pick in the draft, San Jose selects Timo Meyer, and for the most part, he was a great piece for San Jose. But with San Jose entering a strong rebuild, it only made sense for them to trade him while he was at his highest value, which is why he currently plays for New Jersey. Even though this player likely would have been traded as well, I think I would have taken Matt Barzal over Meyer in this draft. Now, Barzal has been a little bit inconsistent, but his ceiling is a bit higher than Meyer. He has picked up things lately, and I think he has more to offer at this point in his career than Meyer does. I wouldn't call it a bad pick though. Either way, you can't really go wrong, but in my opinion, I probably would have just taken Barzal at this position. With the 10th overall pick, the Avalanche selected Mikko Rantanen, and now with Rantanen being such a great pick, obviously he's going to be taken a little bit higher in a redraft. So with him off the board, if you're the Colorado Avalanche, you have 3 guys who stand out here as forwards: Roope Hintz, Travis Konecny, and Brock Besser. And of the 3, I think I'm going to take Roope Hintz. Hintz was taken 19th in the 2nd round of the draft, but has been a stud with the Dallas Stars, especially the past few seasons. He has back-to-back 70-plus point seasons with the Dallas Stars, and is on track to top his season total in points this year. Hintz is kind of underrated, and I think if you can't have Rantanen, then he is the solid next guy up and would be a good fit in Colorado. But that's my redraft from 1 through 10 of the 2015 NHL Draft. But let me know what you guys think about my list. Do you agree with my NHL 2015 redraft? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one.